we had said, or we had discussed the body, basic TypeScript, and we had said superset JavaScript, which allows us to add steps. So it allows us to future code and check JavaScript because JavaScript as a language very 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 step and it has so let me share my screen just maybe recap this lesson and continue with what we do so we can at least improve on what we did. So last Monday say that this class upgrade when it comes to TypeScript it adds both just and the kind of this just so example the type of screen, type of screen, type of array, type of array, type of object array, and type of object itself. So each all yeah, each each of this we have its own with like use case. So this is the best idea for the session. We are going to learn when it comes to this it becomes more easier later when we combine the of different aspects of different aspects of TypeScript. So for now, I will just show you types, things like booleans, numbers, strings, okay? But we hadn't yet completed them okay, because we were missing, I think, a bunch of, let me just check my notes. So we are missing a bunch of around four types, four different cases of using objects, so of using types, okay? So we had looked at booleans, arrays, we had looked at numbers. We had not looked at something called object literals. Okay, so let's just begin from yesterday from Monday's part. So we had not looked at click this here, what we call object literals. Object literals. Okay, so in JavaScript we don't have a dictionary. We don't have a dictionary in JavaScript. Okay, we have object literals. A language like Python has a dictionary. But in our case, we have object literals, or in simple terms, an object. Okay, but basically, it's an object, it's a dictionary. So we can take them to be JavaScript dictionaries. Okay, so a dictionary is simply a collection of values. For example, we have maybe my dictionary equals to maybe to they have what they call a key and a value. So it's a key pair value. So key pair values values. Okay. So with this key and pair values, you have maybe have actually have actually having an ID. Okay, maybe having an ID of variation of two. And you can see with JavaScript, we don't need to put we don't need to put the value, the key in strings. Okay, you can be either in strings or not in strings. Okay, I think most of you know that because these are basics of JavaScript. And sometimes I may say JavaScript and TypeScript interchangeably, but no, the same thing. So maybe I'm having additional of books. So this may be have maybe like here my book name. I say maybe my book name is that should be is Kingsman. Okay, Kingsman. Okay, I shouldn't. I'm having that. So this is a dictionary. Okay, and so how do I put a type? How do I type check this dictionary? Okay, because if I try to move on it, to show me, uh, I haven't told you, but it showed me like my dictionary having an ID and a book name. So this has two types because in this case we are not explicitly typing giving it a type. It infers. Okay, so this I think I forgot to say this time, this last time. But when you declare some variable, maybe like say let, uh, maybe I should my age, okay, because maybe it's two, it will infer to this to the value as the type, okay. But in our case, we want to define them ourselves, okay. So in our case, we have to define. Maybe we want to have my dictionary, which contains contains two values, okay, an ID and a book, and I want it to contain one or two values, okay. So the way of doing it of giving it a type is simply do full colors like we always do, but in this case you don't just put a value like maybe object, no, you put the actual object can it as it called the breakdown. Okay, so in our example, I can say I want my object to have an ID, which is a number in this case. Okay, comma, rather not comma, rather we have full colors, sorry, semicolons. Then you have maybe it has book name, book underscore name, uh, because maybe a string, okay, just like that. Then it will check and say the ID is now, because since now the ID is a number, to check and say, oh, the type string is not assignable to type number, so I have to change this to a number, which is number two. And those who are around that time can maybe a bit confused about what we are doing here, but we are doing TypeScript, and TypeScript has what we call types. Okay, so when it comes to JavaScript, you don't have to put this part here. Okay, this part here, but it simply define variables without defining what type it is. Okay, but with TypeScript, it adds a type, so define the types of variables, what types of data you are dealing with. So in my case here, I'm dealing with uh, an object which has two values, which has two pair values. It has an ID, which has property, an ID of which is a number, another property which is book name, which is a string. So if I try to put maybe a third, uh, a third property or a third key on pair value, maybe I try and say maybe I want to put ISBN. Okay. I say maybe something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it will tell me the type, this type here, okay, you don't assign with this type here, okay. So it tell me that I cannot have this type, although it's a bit confusing when you're reading the error, but it tells you that since this type is ID, number, book, mark, so book name, and ISBN, it is not assignable to this type, okay, because this one contains one, two values. This one has 1, 2, 3 values, okay. So in our case here, it stops us from doing such errors, okay, because you may have an object which has maybe two values. In your case, you're having you put four values, which is an error, okay. So this is like a way for you to do when it comes to object retrievals or objects, which I had forgot to show you guys. And so the next part, which before we actually go to the next part, let me take some questions. So questions. So let me take some questions. So questions on this because I think I've shown this on this. So that's the syntax. Okay. So questions on this before I continue to the next part. If you have no questions, you can of course type no questions. Okay, so no questions. Okay, so this is the syntax. Okay, is it okay to use comma after declaring ID number? No, no, no. The syntax. Let me show you. If I try to put a comma here, uh, it will work. Okay, but the syntax to avoid confusion between this object and this is to put the semicolons. Okay, and it's a syntax. It's a official syntax. Wait, with the comma. It still works. Okay, there's no error. You can see if I close here, there's no error. Okay, and things still work the same way. Okay, but semicolons are way kind of more convenient. Separate between the type declaration and the actual object. Okay, that's avoid confusion. Yeah, but full colons is a way to go. Okay, full colons is the way to go. Other questions? So full colons. How do we run this program? Okay. So currently right now we are discussing the syntax, but as at per today, I'm going to show you how to run this. Okay. I won't be that also, uh, but I'll show you the next few like in the next few minutes on how to run the syntax. Okay, because we haven't been discussed on how to run this. Okay, but we I think on Monday we installed all the necessary softwares, be it Node.js, be it npm to be able to run this code. Okay, because when it comes to TypeScript, you cannot run it uh, unless you convert it from TypeScript to JavaScript. Okay, so we'll come to that later on. Okay, any other questions coming up? So all right, as questions are coming in, I'll answer them. Okay, so the next part which I wanted us to look at was to make things simpler for us. Okay, so we are going to look at type. Well, so we're going to look at type videos. Okay, so having two types. Okay, for example, the back case here you have seen that the ID can either back case here the ID is a number. Okay, but imagine if the ID is a what is a it's either a string or a number. Okay, so there's a way a syntax which allows us to have this ID being a number or be be a string. Okay, so yes, up here and say type periods. Okay, type periods you put two types together. Okay, for example, I can say let maybe should be my ID. Okay, my ID, my ID. Okay, and my ID can be either a number or a string. Okay, for example, it can either be equal to either maybe 1 2 3 4 5, or it can be 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, can be a number, can be a string. So when it comes to TypeScript, that should be I want this to be type of string. Okay, yes, the code will be recorded. And hopefully the sound comes out very nicely today, because for the last few sessions the sound was kind of horrible, but I'm working on it to improve the sound quality. So as I said, you can say maybe my variable or my ID is a string. Okay, but now you need it to be what? To be both a string and both a number. So you can use what you call this pipe. That is called has what you call it's called a pipe. Okay. So maybe search for the actual name for it because there's a type. Okay, I see it's called the pipe. Okay, so you just get the string. Then this pipe, I think you can press shift shift backward slash. So shift backward slash here. Okay, so let's say shift backward slash to get that pipe. Okay, then you say string, then pipe, then you say number. Okay, and you can number with a U here. Okay, to say the ID is either a string or a number. Okay, that's it. So it can be a string or a number, can be maybe a string, a number, or a boolean, boolean, okay? Or maybe even an array. Uh, just here, maybe a row of strings like that. Okay, that doesn't matter. You can have as many unions as you want. You can have different values representing different things. Okay, that's it. My ID is either a string or a number, but the best case scenario is for it to be either two. If you have more than two, it's better just use any, okay? Because you may have to add maybe it's a string, then it's a what? It's a it's maybe it's a number number thing. So if you put more of this, you it's better just say okay, let's be any, okay? So let's be any. But this is good when you're having a variable which can either change, okay, which can change between maybe two different types. Can be a number or can be a string. Okay. So this is like type unions. Okay. So the other type which okay, those are type rather. Another syntax which is due. Okay, I think before I actually introduce a new kind of concept, we're going to look at types. The type I think type Alias, okay, Alias and interfaces. Okay, the next few minutes. So before I introduce that, I think let me show you how to. I think I showed you guys how to do this. Did I? Did I show you guys how to what's it called to compile TypeScript to JavaScript? Did I show you guys on Monday?
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna show you how to do it. Okay. So now we have this file called types index. We have this file called index.ts. Okay. So what we can do is we can convert it from index.ts to JavaScript. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to open up at the terminal so you can let me show it. Let me see. So you can click. Oh, what's this? So is it clear? Let me see. Okay, so okay, it's not better. Okay, so you can see on the menu bar. You can see the word terminal. If you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the seventh word, which is the terminal. So I go to the terminal and open up new terminal. Okay, or you can press is it Control backtick, Control Shift backtick to open up a new terminal. So another way of opening up a terminal using VS Code, you simply go down at the bottom and I think you drag. Okay, so once your cursor changes to double arrowed cursor, you simply drag down to open it for you the terminal. Okay, in my case, I'm using Bash, but some of you, if you haven't yet installed Git Bash or Git, you may be having either PowerShell or having command prompt. Okay? But if you're on Mac or Linux, you'll be having bash, I'm sure of it, bash or anything else, okay, as long as it's a terminal. Okay? So if you have already installed a Git and you want to set your default terminal to be bash, you simply click open the terminal. I've shown you either by coming here, terminal, new terminal, and going at the bottom here and selecting here, scroll down, select default profile, then choosing either what you want. In that case, I would recommend to use Git Bash because Git Bash at least tries to bring the same commands from Linux and from Mac to Windows. Okay, so I'll use Git Bash here. Okay, so I can date at these other instances. So just simply select. Then you can save different instances, maybe and delete it. Okay, so I want to remain with only one. So delete. And the trash can be delete because I'm sure most of you know that. Okay? So here, remember we had installed TypeScript onto our systems. So you can type tsc dash dash version to check if you have TypeScript. Okay, install on your machine. Okay. In my case, I'm having version 4.2.4. Doesn't matter which case you have, as long as 3.2 and above, it will still work the same way. And if you haven't yet installed TypeScript, you can type npm dash npm install. Okay, I'm repeating this dash g, then TypeScript. Okay, just like that. But since I would have already have TypeScript installed, I'll run a command. Okay, so the command is quite simple. The command is tsc, okay, or TypeScript compiler. This one stands for TypeScript compiler. Then I'll say the name of the file. Okay, my case is index, okay, dot ts. Okay, when I run this index.ts and I enter, it will take some time, but it will compile the whole file or the whole index.js file to index.js. Okay, and you can see, let me show you. You can see it's almost the same thing, maybe just side by side, although we have some errors, but it's all right. Let me see here. Control delete, close this. You can see I'm having almost the same code. Okay, same code. The difference is here I'm having here I'm having var instead of length. Okay, but it's almost the same code. There's no difference. Difference is all the type definitions have gone. Okay, all these have gone. Okay, you no longer have the type definitions. Okay, yeah. So because this is now production code which you can run. Okay, like the output. Okay, so this is a code to be run by either the browser or by the node by node.js. So to run this code, if you want to run this this index.js file, you don't run the index.ts, rather you run this. So what you do, you first compile the code, then after compiling, you can go ahead and after compiling this uh, ts then index.ts. Okay, after compiling it, you can run it either using either linking it like a normal link it via HTML, or you can run it in that at using Node. Okay, so I'm going to show you both ways real quick. So you can say Node, okay, then index.js, okay, just like that. But since you are not printing out anything in the console, to just run because it will just run and check the variables, nothing more. But for example, if I go here back, where is it? Back here, maybe I put a console somewhere, the log, maybe here I can say console, the log, and say maybe something is happening. Okay, together. And I go back and I convert it back to index.js like that. Wait for it to finish converting. Of course, I check, do I have that console at top here? It's there. That can run my node index.js. Okay, and you can see something is happening. That's how you can run it. Okay, but no worries. We are going to look at a simpler way of doing this. Okay, it's just because this is like too much of setting up and this. Okay, so go look at a simpler way of setting this up, and just by one command, it will convert everything for you. Next, it will just run the code for you. Okay, so for now, uh, we are going to look at that later on. But for now, we are just exploring the basics. Okay, the syntax, how it works, some a bit of your syntax, how to approach some different issues. But later on, when we start actually doing an actual project, I think it is true for me. Maybe you are logging out somewhere where you're having true for you, Deborah. Maybe you are logging out something like uh, also log through somewhere. You just check if you're logging out console, don't log somewhere. But don't worry, we're going to look at that later on, okay? We'll look at the everything that or like how to compile the node compiler, node package modules, all this, okay? But now let's see look at the basics so that when I come and I say in the future, I tell you I'm doing maybe this type here, okay? Maybe this type of number, don't get confused, okay? That's why I'm like, let us maybe first look at the basics, then we can look at how we can include the basics which I've learned inside our projects, okay? Because the program is it's going to be a project-based program. We attempt a project together. You also attempt your project while applying what you have learned from this project, your project. Okay. So for now, but for this first week, I just want to get down the basics of the language, which is TypeScript. Then also because while it's learning TypeScript, you're also learning JavaScript. Then we can get into projects. Okay. Okay. So let's continue. So I've showed you type videos. Just bring back the board of types again. So we have looked at type videos. Okay, and you can say using this it's called a pipe. I don't know what they call a pipe, but it's this pipe. Okay, so it is shift backtick. Okay, so shift this shift this. So shift this. Okay, so yeah, shift plus this if you want to look for it. Shift plus that to get what I'm doing because equals to this. Okay, let's do that. Let's put there. Okay, so uh, we have seen that you can have two types, uh, maybe a number and a string together. Okay, so this represents either a number or a string. Okay, that means you can come together and say my ID equals to a number. Okay, like 15555. Okay, there, but it would bug you. Okay, so but you can see now. Imagine I want to use this type, which is string. I'm breaking. Sorry. Okay. Am I now clear? Or I'm still breaking? Am I still breaking?
I think it's the other guy's network.
You're clear.
Fine.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So you have seen now we have this type. Okay. So now the question is because imagine now you have to use this type somewhere in our application so many times. There's a way to make it kind of a some kind of a variable, okay, or a variable or a global, like somewhere like you keep it somewhere, okay. Shoot a syntax, okay. So maybe for example, I have also here boolean, okay, boolean, okay, together. Maybe I have my ID which is also string number of boolean. Maybe I have another Here she might have let let's maybe URL I'm not sure, okay, equals to same type as string, like the same type as this. Okay, so this is like redundant and like you're repeating yourself too much. Okay, so there's a way of you to make it easy. Okay, and it's something called type alias. Okay, so it's called type alias. So although maybe I'm guessing the right word, type alias. I have an answer. No, see here. Type alias. So use type alias. Okay, type alias. So with type alias, you simply use the type keyword. Okay, this type keyword is only available in TypeScript. Okay, so it's a type. Okay, type. Then the type you want. Then maybe I want to say my string number. My string number. Yeah, we are name. Okay. Then I just put equals to maybe to sorry to this equals to this equals to this. Okay. So now this type alias is referencing the string, the number, or the boolean. So now instead of using let me just put it up here. Instead of using I should have another instead of using this I can say let uh, maybe my unique something. Okay, unique ID. I'm sure. Then you can say instead of using my ID, you say instead of using string, pipe number, pipe boolean, just simply use string number. Okay, string number. Okay, you can say because maybe two, anything like maybe two, true. Okay, yeah. Then maybe test out. You can say maybe my unique ID something, my unique. Okay, equals to maybe two a number. Okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It won't complain. Okay. But if I try maybe mine is got an array, of course it will complain, okay? Because this ID is not assignable to this, okay? So they can see type undefined is not assignable to string number, okay? Yeah, that's what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, you can have a type alias, okay? So with type alias, it allows us to expand even more to different things, okay? Like for example, in that case, if you look at our previous part, which is uh, this dictionary, okay, we having this weird syntax, okay. Now imagine we have close to like 30 different properties, okay. We have what they call the should ISBN. One more time we had it ISBN. You say maybe it is five. It's a number. You come here again. You have to say ISBN, okay. ISBN, okay. It's also a number, okay. So this syntax is alright, okay? It works, but sometimes you want to separate the actual type, the actual type annotations and put them separately from the actual declarations, okay? So it makes work easy if you have this a different maybe a different variable, okay? So the way of you putting this same syntax a different variable is use types, okay, or interfaces. Whatever use that interface, yes, uh, before. So let's look at types, okay. So you can simply say maybe I want I should was type what type book, okay. So let's use a type of what of number, okay. So I say type, so type of user. So I say type user, okay. The type will be maybe the user has an ID, it's a number, okay, an ID, which is a number, okay. And if I put a comma and I put another comma, uh, you put a semicolons, okay, semicolons, then maybe a name, okay, which is a string, okay, better. Then maybe a password, okay, which is maybe a string also, okay, okay. Yeah. So in this case here, I'm having suppose be type equals, should type equals, must be type equals ID, like different types. Okay, so my user, see, you see, it's almost the same syntax as this. Okay, this part here, the same thing as this. Okay, in the nutshell, the same syntax. Okay, so now I'm having this type as what, as like a variable. Okay, or a type alias. Okay, alias. So now I can come and say maybe I want to create a user. Maybe I use cause. Okay, cause maybe user one. Okay, user one, and user one has a type of user. Okay, together. And you can see that if before even you begin typing, they tell you uh, must be cost. Okay, cost is a different error, so I say equals to. Uh, they can tell me right away. Uh, type is missing the following properties from type user. Okay, the ID, the name, the password. Okay, and with this I can just say ID. Okay, of course they tell me with like it says this ID is missing there. I can say maybe the ID is one. Okay, okay. Then of course the next property is name. Okay, and you can see with when it comes to TypeScript, they give you it's quite nice and beautiful uh, intelligence. Okay, maybe this is called John. Maybe the password, it has a password. Sorry, it's supposed to be a comma here. Then the password. Because once you click maybe like P right away, they'll show you property password. Okay, so you don't even type. You just need to click and they tell you. But here in our case, yes, it's a string. Okay. If I try to put a number, it will tell me the type number is not type, type string. Okay? That means I have to come and change it to type string. So my password will be, let's say, password. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay? So it's almost the same thing. The difference is with TypeScript, they give you nice intelligence and also allow you to catch errors. Okay? So one more time, syntax is very simple. So it's simply use the type keyword, type maybe type of the relative. You can say maybe type of something, maybe type of user ID, maybe user something, maybe user type. You come here and say your type. Then I declare equals of course types you equate them. Okay, so it's like a keyword. It's a type, user type. Then maybe you put your addresses. Then you declare the types. Okay, so the types are separated by so the different values of properties are separated using semicolon. So I say ID, number, name, string, password, string. Okay, and then when I come to my dictionary or to my object, I can say instead of having uh, user, instead of having it like this, okay, I can say I want my user one to have this properties, which is user type. Okay. Okay. So this is like how you can use types. Alias right here is called type alias. Okay. Together. For objects. Objective choice. Okay. Yes. So this is a type. Okay. And you can have different values. And with this, you can come and say maybe my user. Okay. Once I put dot to show me different types. Okay. When I say full stop, to tell me it has an ID, a name, and a password. Okay. Because with you passing this type here, it will know that this user has a type of user type, and user type has this different, has to have these three different values. Okay. And it prevents us from adding maybe I want an object that has maybe other properties. Maybe should we have age? Okay. Not going to tell you age does not exist. Type of is a type. Okay. To tell you the error. Okay. So I think we are done with with type alias. Okay, so let's look at the last thing for today, which is interface. Okay, so there's another way of view which is preferred. Okay, so another way of making, okay, of making type alias of object features. Of making type alias for object features, which is interface. Okay, so interface. Okay, and interface is is the preferred, not the recommended thing to use, but it's a preferred, and most TypeScript users prefer interfaces, okay, to types, okay, because they have some advanced uses which make working with types interfaces more easier. So for the first, for how to use an interface, the keyword is interface, okay, interface, okay, interface, okay. So you say interface, then the name of the interface. In this case, maybe I can say my interface is maybe books. Okay. So previously, we we used to use this kind of syntax saying interface name capital I, then the interface name. Okay. And personally, I prefer this. I prefer you saying maybe if I have uh, an object of books, I want it to be iBooks. Okay, or iBook, rather single iBook. So you just say the interface, then the name of the object which you're going to create later in the future. Okay? Then you put your curly braces, then you put it the same way we did for type. So you say maybe this time you don't say equals. Okay? You don't say equals, okay? Because it'll tell you unexpected token, something like that, okay? So you have to, it's just interface, then the name, then the curly braces. So I would say because interfaces are mostly used for objects. And since most of the times use objects, especially when you're dealing with data, that's why the preferred way of doing of using type aliases is interface. So we say interface, maybe the book has a name, okay? Maybe it has the name is a string, it has maybe it has an ID, which is maybe a number, or you can see okay. So you can still apply your unions here, okay? Or maybe a string. You can have also maybe it has a nice beard, which is also sorry, which is string. Okay, this is a number here. That's be a number. First we have the number. Okay? Yes, it has an author. I should have an author. Okay, it has maybe an author which is which is a string. Okay, yeah. Okay, maybe it has a function. Okay, it has and let's first forget about functions. Let's just stop on just the simple types. Okay, so I can come and say I want to create a book. Okay, so maybe const okay new book. Okay, new book. Okay? Let's say book one, book one. Okay, book one, book one. Okay, together equals to equal to a book. Okay, so I want this book one to have the properties of I book. Okay, so I can say it be I book. So now they'll tell me it's missing all these properties. Okay, because I'm sure this book has to have all this. Okay, so I can say then okay, so maybe is Romeo. Okay, is that then maybe the ID is maybe is okay. Maybe the ISBN is maybe some number like okay. Then the author The author is John Doe. John Doe. So you see, this allows, because if I forget to put John Doe, the author here, to start to complain. Okay, that's why I've put what the John Doe. Good. So for, before I actually end this part of interfaces, whether it's types, whether it is it is it is numbers, whether it's type areas or interface, you can have what we call an optional value. Okay, for example, maybe you can say uh, date. Okay, we say actually date recovered. Okay, date recovered, date recovered. Okay, assuming, okay, which is their string. Okay, together. And here in that case, they start complaining that property that recovered is missing. Okay, so you can say property that recovered is maybe is optional by simply putting a question mark on the property. Okay, together. So I say that recovered is optional, okay, by simply putting question mark at the end of the current the type or the property. But what it works for, uh, in TypeScript, you cannot put this question mark in JavaScript because it will, it will always fail. Okay, so I think I've shown you all this. Come Friday, you're going to use what you have learned because I think I've covered most of the parts. Okay, you're going to use what you have learned to create to start our applications. Okay, to include within our applications. Okay, so let me take some questions before I close the session. Questions. Questions. Yes. Questions. Questions. I'm waiting. Okay, let me just check the question a minute. Okay. So why use type unions if there is type any? Oh, so when it comes to type unions, okay? For example, you have your ID. Your ID can either be a number or a string. So you don't want your type to be any, okay? You want to have specified types, okay? And you're gonna see in the future that uh, some, like for example, uh, an array has a method code for each, okay? Or maybe has a method code uh, map, okay? A string has a method code to string, to number, but an array has doesn't have what to number method, okay? So when you have specified types on something, like specific types, it forces you to 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 write meta syntax. Okay, so these types, they are good if you're having two or more. Like for example, if you're fetching data on an API, but the user, the guy who made the API, decide that the ID can either be a number or a string. For example, some databases produce the ID to be a number, some others produce to be what? A string. So imagine you create an app which will deal with maybe different data types, different APIs. Okay? So you have to account say maybe some type, some ID is a number, some ID is a that is a string. So that's why we need type idioms, okay? Because they allow us to have two more types, two or more types for the same variable. Okay? But any does not provide any syntax highlighting or syntax analysis because any is the same thing as you writing plain JavaScript. So I could have said everything is any and could have still worked. Okay, but when it comes to TypeScript, having type periods, it makes you work in a safer environment. Okay, where you know about this error has to happen because I've used maybe the wrong type. Okay, when it comes to JavaScript, just write plain, there's no types. Okay, everything just works out the box. You don't have to add to but which type is this. Okay, but with this, it makes you write stricter and more less error uh, code is less to which is not prone to errors. Okay, but when it comes to using any you can use it anywhere. Okay, good. We have talked too much. So any other questions? No questions? Okay. So let me ask now, how many of you tried out the free code camp challenges in TypeScript? How many of you did that? And if you had some issues, you could please let us know so I can help you out. So how many of you tried the free code camp JavaScript basics? Uh, the courses. Let me just open it up. Uh, so, so I'd ask guys to look at wait. Yeah. So this the free code camp data structures, but in TypeScript, especially the ones which especially the ones that are more complex. Okay, for example, like increment rather storing variables, using that one as easy. Maybe let's say one array with an array, multiplying with push, all this, but in TypeScript. Okay, just try out different things. How many of you did that? Or how many of you did not do that? Yes. Okay. Do try them out. Okay. And if you attempt them, if you find something quite simple, like for example, like the very fast comment your JavaScript, please it doesn't make a difference if you do it if you really don't do it because it's the simplest and most basic thing to do. Okay? But if you like, for example, I'll draw recommend for you to start doing thing. The ones start from like maybe the ones which start with functions. Okay, like let me see. With the ones after the arrays and shift. Okay, the ones which start with shorting list. Okay, because that's where the thing begins. That's where at least something. Yes. So this was easy. So this was very simple. So you can try after one for functions, I think. For functions, okay? So write reusable JavaScript functions and below. Those one are the ones which at least uh, challenge you. Others are so simple that it's like you are repeating yourself. But you could repeat yourself, but the others are quite simple. I think starting from functions, that's why you can begin. Okay. So since I'm gonna pass on this on Friday, we'll begin actually. We set up Typescript for our project. Okay. So for now, it was the basics, but starting Friday, we are going to continue with the basics, but with the project. Okay. So I think I'll pass on the project later on and see so you can build together. If you have no questions, feel free to leave.
All right.
Yes, Mercy.
With that link that you shared, the free code camp link, you want
Yes.
us to write the exercises in TypeScript, right?
Yes, yes. The challenging ones. Don't write the
All
ones
right.
not challenging. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, I'll try to share the recording. Yeah. I'll first check if the sound came out nicely. Then I will share the recording with you guys.